Now I'm doing this video 2 days after I published one on YouTube called Gann Angles Don't Believe the So-Called Experts. And I'm kind of a member of a news group on Gann, which I never get involved in because they talk about astrology and other things that I personally don't think work. And unfortunately I couldn't find out how to unsubscribe to it, and it wasn't easy anyway, so I never really read it. And this email came up, and it went and said it was actually the day after I'd done the video, and was talking about how to scale charts to do Gann angles correctly. So I just basically sent a link to it, saying this is the truth, and I said you'll probably get loads of things on the website, on the news group, telling you completely opposite. And of course that's pretty much what happened. A load of so-called experts came up saying that what I was saying actually wasn't right, and that went on for a bit, and me responding and saying why they were wrong. And basically this is based on one of the replies I made about why they were wrong, and it was because the person who was saying I was wrong was basing what he was saying not on what Gann actually physically said, but on something by this guy. Now in no way am I trying to criticise this guy, because I've never read his work. This is the first time I've ever looked at it, and the only thing that I could find by him was this thing, the Gann Pyramid Square of 9 Essentials, by this guy here. And anyway, I started looking down it, and I started looking for some angle rules to either confirm what he was saying was right or to disprove what he was saying. Now as I went through it, the very first example I came to just happened to be on the S&P 500, exactly the same item that I've been doing in all my videos on what I call the master time factor. Now his angles are based on this thing here, which Gann called the square of 9. It's become a mystical thing. Everybody's saying that they found the secret, and it's all basically based on this. Now Gann wrote very little about this. I mean, it's probably half a page in a sheet in one of the Gann courses, and I don't personally believe it was ever included in the Gann course. Gann's work was wasn't being published for years until the early 1980s, when a guy called Billy Jones bought up the rights and he started republishing it. And a lot of his courses were just basically Billy Jones finding stuff out of Gann's old documents and sticking them together. And so obviously he found this thing on the square of 9 and stuck it in the back. But really Gann didn't say anything about it. He never really told you how to use it, and I tried for years trying to get anything to work, and even with the benefit of hindsight I couldn't get anything to work. So the chance of me getting it to work without the benefit of hindsight would be pretty slim. So I personally think it's a lot of rubbish. However, everybody will tell you that isn't the case, but I've never yet found anybody who's shown me a convincing case that it actually works. But the example I'm going to show you in a minute will be based very loosely on what you're seeing here. And I'll mention this thing about 180 degrees, which is this line that goes from the centre and going across at 90 degrees. Now the first thing I found on angles in the booklet was under this heading, Gann Angle Projections, and it's going to be using the S&P, using the May 24th 2000 low, and doing 180 degrees around the square of 9. We arrive at the price of blah blah blah. So I won't bore you with it. It took me about 5 minutes to work out what he was talking about, so I'll just show you what he was actually talking about. I'll just show a little bit more of it. If you scroll a bit, you put 4 by 1, 8 by 1, 1 by 1, 1 by 3, and basically it's about trying to scale charts so you get a 45-degree line on a chart, and this is his attempt to do it. Now this is his chart, and so he's using, as I said before, the 28th of May 2000 low, 24th, yeah, and then these are the angles that he's got, and he's saying that in effect this angle here is actually, just give me 1 second, he's saying here that this angle here is actually the true 1 by 1 angle. So let's look into how he's actually doing that. So this is my software, and we're looking over the same period of time. What I should have shown you is that you should be able to see gaps in the chart. There's 2 prices missing there, there's 2 prices missing here, there's 2 prices missing here. So basically, and there's 5 prices in between. So basically it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a blank for Saturday and Sunday where the market didn't trade. So what you're looking at here is prices with Saturdays and Sunday gaps left in. Okay, so we're looking in effect at 7 days in a week to draw these angles. Now, what he's actually saying is this. Now, he's using this low here, and this low here is actually made at 1361.1. Now, then what he says is the square root of that number is 36.893, and then he comes up with this thing about travelling 180 degrees around. Basically you've just got to add 1 to 36.89. so let's do what he said, even though I have no idea what he's talking about. So we 180 degrees around the square of 9. Be difficult to do a degree sign, but that'll do. And so it becomes, he says, 37.893. Then he goes and says that if you square 37, if you square 37.293, you actually get 1435.87. Then he says if you take the price of the low, which we know is 13.61, away from this number here, 1435.87, then you actually get 74.779. So basically he's saying that's what the price factor is going up. So each unit of price represents 74.77 points. Now, because the square root of the low, which is 1361.1, is 36.893, he's saying that the number of prices across you should go is 37. So what he's done is rounded 36.893 up to 37. So it would be 37. Now, in effect, what he's saying is that the 45-degree angle has got nothing to do with a 1 by 1, but it's actually now 70. We'll round it up, 75 by 37. And he says that that there is the 1 by 1 angle. And let's get rid of some of this stuff so we can put more in. And he's saying a 2 by 1 would be 150, which is twice 75 by 37 calendar days. And so that equals the 2 by 1 angle that Gann talked about. And if you want to do the angle below the 1 by 1, then that would be a 75 by 74. So I've doubled 37. And so he says that that is going to be a 1 by 2. So let's do it. So we go to the low, and he's saying that 150 by 37 is the true, sorry, that's the 2 by 1, and he's saying 75 by 37 is the true 1 by 1. So I'll make that a darker colour to emphasize it, and the one below that is going to be the 1 by 2, and to draw that one it would be a 75 by 74, and so that's going to be the 1 by 1. And if you take it further, then a 1 by 4 would be a 75, and we just have to double 74 by 2 to make it that angle, which would be by 148. And that would equal a 1 by 4. And that would be there. And if we scroll forward, well, first of all, we look at what's worked. You can see, you can kind of say that that worked there, and you can say that that worked there. And he also said that to get there, if we look at it in time, then it's actually 37 calendar days. In other words, Saturdays and Sundays are actually included, and that's why that was interesting, because it hit the true 1 by 1 angle, and it hit it on the 37 calendar days. The 1 by 2 in it is, from his point of view, doesn't work because it broke it by quite a lot. It's great looking at things with hindsight and seeing that it went up, but if you haven't got the benefit of hindsight, then the chart looks like that, and it looks like it's gone flying through the angle. And then in the future, the 75 by 4 basically is where the market goes sideways, which of course is a trader's nightmare. That's why trading is so hard. Being right and making money are two completely different things. Okay, and you can see that then it goes shooting down. Okay, so why has he picked that low, this low here? The reason he's picked that low there is just because it works. Now if we look at a longer period graph like we did, we can now see that he's picked this low here, but you know, is it such a great low? And if you move that to this low, does it work? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't. You might be able to see something I can't, but it looks like it didn't work here, it looks like it didn't work here, it looks like it didn't work here. You could say it worked here, but you know. And then the major low, the one you should probably use, then you would draw it from here. And again, you could say that it worked here, but it definitely didn't work here or here or here. And so the best thing to show what he wants to show was actually from, where was it, this low here, was it? Yeah, the best thing to show what he wanted to show happens to be that low there, and that's why he's picked it. Now, working out an angle the way we've just gone and mentioned makes it look like you'll always get some kind of true 45-degree line depending on the actual scale. So at the moment we're at 1360, but if we did it at say half that price, we get a different 45-degree line. But in fact, it doesn't actually make much difference. So what I'm going to do is go back to a low that's a lot lower, down at about 400, and let's just see what difference it actually makes. I won't do that calculation again because I've already worked it out, but it basically applies to where we're going to go next. Okay, so what I've done here, I've gone to the major low where the bull market started in December 1994, and you can see the S&P is at the actual low here was made at 442.9. Now if we do that calculation that we did for that low that we had at 1361, then basically what he's saying is the true 1 by 1 angle. Now remember, we're at a completely different place here, so the idea is that you get the true 45-degree line on a chart regardless of what the scale is. So let's draw the angle from that low, and if you work out the numbers, it comes out at a 43 by 21, and that's what he's saying is the true 1 by 1. And then you have 1 by 2 would be a 43 by 42, we did a 1 by 4 before, so that would be a 43 by 84, which is there, and the one above the 1 by 1 would be an 86 by 21. Now, so you're going to say, well, we've got a different low, a lot lower, okay, and what I've done there is I've put on the new angles. However, let's take the angles, the same ones that I drew, in fact just before I do that, let's just cut those lines so they're out of the way a bit. So this is what you would do from this low, unless I've misunderstood what he said. Now let's superimpose the angles that we did the calculation on based from the low that we had before. And if we go to that low there, I've now put the same angles. So we had 150 by 37, 75 by 37, 75 by 74 and a 75 by 148. They are exactly, well, practically exactly the same angles. There is absolutely no difference. And so basically what's happened is you've come up with this nice complicated calculation to work something out that is just the same thing. It doesn't matter what level you do it from, if you do it from 440 or you do it from 1361, whatever it may be, you're going to basically get exactly the same results. There's nothing special about it. Yeah. However, there's an old saying, keep it simple, stupid. And so what I'm going to do now is we're going to look at these numbers here that we've done, and we're going to do these from looking at the charts up to date and see what happens. Now what I've done here is I've moved the exactly the same angles to the September-October low in 2011. So you've got 150 by 37, a 75 by 37, that's his true 1 by 1 apparently, 75 by 74 and 75 by 148. And well, you could say the first one worked because it gave us this low here. I think we can definitely say the 1 by 1 didn't work. I think we can definitely say that the 1 by 2 didn't work, and if you take my word for it, it's never reached the 75 by 148, which is a 1 by 4, which it's never reached up to today's date. So if you do what he basically says you do, it's not been very good from this particular low here. And then it suddenly occurred to me what he's actually doing. Now this here, I told you that when we had that 37, it was 37 calendar days. Now 75, 37, 75 divided by 2 is pretty close to 37. You can see it here. This is what he called, that's his 1 by 1 he said. This here, he said, is his 1 by 2. Well, it's a 75 by 74. 75, 74, very, very close. So let's just do an angle that goes up at the rate of 1 penny every 2 calendar days. Sorry, 1 penny every 1 calendar day. So it's a 1 by 1 that goes up 1 point every 7 actual physical days. That there is a 1 by 1 angle. It's not the correct master time factor, but that's a 1 by 1 angle. If you do a 2 by 1 angle, it's exactly the same as his 75 by 37, or perhaps a little bit lower. If you do a 4 by 1, then it's the same. So your angles, remember, 1 by 1, 2 by 1, 4 by 1. The one below a 1 by 1 is a 1 by 2. It's the same angle. So all that really complicated mathematics just to go and work out that it's a 1 by 1, a 1 by 2, a 1 by 4, a 1 by 2, a 1 by 1, a 2 by 1 and a 4 by 1. You can see, hopefully, how incredibly simple it is to confuse you, especially if you don't know what you're doing, which unfortunately even the people who think they know what they're doing don't. Okay, now let's do it with the correct master time factor selected. So I've changed it to the correct master time factor, and if you do a 1 by 1 angle with this master time factor, it's very flat, obviously completely useless because it's too flat. Then you do 2, then you do 4. But if I was doing this before I can see the future, which we'll do because it's a bit better, remember that an angle is a set geometric line. So usually you need something to kind of start off with to get started, and even though I could draw this angle with very little information, you know, if I've only got, being hard to scroll, if I've only got that, well not even that, if I've only got that much information, I can still draw a 1 by 1 angle. I can draw a 2 by 1 angle, I can draw a 4 by 1 angle. Okay, but to get started I'll look for something that's kind of looks like 45 degrees, or although it's got absolutely nothing to do with 45 degrees. So just so you can see the future, otherwise it'll be a bit boring. Let's do that. So like I said, a 1 by 1's too flat. If I do 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, let's just try that one. Well, I'll do. So we've got an angle, it gives us that reaction that was made there, and that's 128 by 1. Half that, and again I always cut the angles when they get broken, half of that is a 64 by 1, and I think I can say that that one doesn't work. Half of that number is 32. Now these actually are very similar to the angles that he was drawing and what I showed you were working before, but I said weren't, but that was a 1 by 1, 2 by 1, 4 by 1, 8 by 1, and the next one would be 16 by 1. Okay, but there are other angles. What's halfway between 64 and 48? Add the two together, divide by 2, and you get 48 by 1. The 48 by 1 gives you the first reaction. Notice I've not tried to fit it in exactly with that low that was made there. Why did the market bottom out here? Well, what's halfway between 32 and 16? It's 24. Now 24 happens to be exactly where the market bottoms out. I wouldn't be interested the second time because now it's a trend line, and you can see on the day it got there it did stop. That would probably encourage people to buy on the trend line and then breaks through. Yeah, don't trade obvious things. And why did the market bottom out here? Halfway between 24 and 16 is 20, and happens to be exactly where the market stops. Now you might say, well, it didn't work on the 32 and it didn't work on the 16. Well, if it's not going to work, that's fine. If it's just going to go straight through the line, fantastic. I might be watching it. I don't just buy because it suits the angle. I watch and see what happens when it gets there. So if it just goes straight through, straight away, I'm not interested. It means that I'm watching for the next angle, which in this particular case would be this level here. So hopefully you can see that it's very easy to make things overcomplicated and come to completely the wrong conclusions. So as the old saying goes, keep it simple, stupid. Hope you enjoyed it.